Welcome back to part two of Cuba had an empire. So last time we left off, they pushed into the Guyana region. So now they're starting to take over most of Guyana, but with French troops arriving, they're successfully um bulged through and pushed back out. So now Cuba is starting to get a little worried because they put on a bit bigger of an enemy than they could chew. Um, over And now over in North America, once again, we see Panama deciding to join in on this war. And we also see what the frick is this country called? I can't remember like two countries from Central America. It it's this one and just that one. Okay, can't count either, so that's cool, I guess. So this also gets Colombia to join in on the war. And so yeah, Cuba's not really gonna do good in this war unless they can actually just, do something. That made no sense. Um so over in the Guyana region, Cuba is able to just make a small push out, and they start a defensive front line. Over in Colombia, they make a quick encircling movement through puppeted Venezuela, and they start taking over part of the coastline of Colombia. Panama troops start to arrive, which causes a defensive front line from Cuba to be set up right here. And and over in this country, they're also sending in some troops. French troops decide to pull a tricksy trick, so they travel through Spain. Um, so they decide to travel through Spain, going through this small little part in the Mediterranean Sea, and then landing in a close port in Brazil, and then sneaking up on and taking out Cuba. Um, then this is a two-pronged offensive. I mean, so their next idea is to go through the English Channel, and going just barely next to just very close to Cuba, and then flanking them from over here. So then they decide to do that plan. They decide to start take. To, they decide to take out puppeted Venezuela first. So they make their landing over here, and they start their push push forward. They start making their push through the bottom of Venezuela, and France and Cuba is starting to panic. Puppeted Venezuela is completely encircled and is eventually wiped out, and the rest of the occupied territories from Cuba is completely just pushed out. And now Cuba's kind of getting scared. With this, they call him their buddy El Salvador, and over in the puppeted Honduras and Nicaragua, a front line is completely established. So then finally, why can I not talk when I do these freaking videos? El Salvador decides to join in on the war with the side of Cuba because they help them get a lot of land. So now eventually the front line is broken once and for all, and they well, there we go. And then they push down, taking out this entire country, and they start to push into Panama, but is once again frontlined. So now with Venezuela kind of screwed and trying to send more troops through Panama so they can take out it again. The occupied Venezuelan territories are pretty much almost all pushed out, but they are able to barely hold the line. So now we go over to France's plan of landing right over here. France starts taking out a little bit of the country, and the front line is once again established with an encirclement here. Let's get a bit of a close up here. So the encirclement is causes a very bloody battle, and there's lots of artillery going down on this part of the army, which leads to a tragic loss of life. And now it's completely almost encircled. Over in the Cuban capital of Havana, France is pretty inside of it, so they decide to stop encircling this port, and then they eventually encircle the capital. And they're able to completely wipe this part out as well. They start their encirclement of the capital, and they're completely surrounded. With this, Cuba is in absolute panic, so they decide to do the only logical course of reason, and they decide to freaking nuke France. Once they do so, they're pretty sure NATO will be activated, but they decide to risk it all anyways. So they drop a big nuke on Paris, which, and they also send a lot of troops by an aerial landing. So France is in pretty bad situation right now. They also take out a key port of in Normandy. They also take out a key port in Normandy and make landings there. So now France is kind of in a bit of ruin. Everyone's kind of shocked. Oh my God, two more nukes just got used in the world. Um, with this whole remobilizing and troops being sent down to France, Cuba can take their push into Venezuela back. Um, they start taking back most of Venezuela, and they're able to completely encircle this part, and is captured. So now Venezuela's completely been reinstated. Under Cuban control, that is. A push into the Guyana region has started, and French Guyana is wiped out. And over in Colombia, they were able to establish another front line, and it's actually a completely offensive one over here, and they dip down, having a two-prong. Over in Panama, it's completely encircled, by Cuban forces as well as El Salvadoran forces. And now France is kind of the only one standing left because there's also a surrender of Colombia. So now France decides to call on its NATO allies for help after being pushed out of the rest of Cuba. So yeah, now France is starting to panic. So now they decide to call on their NATO allies. So they are able to get two NATO allies to join in. They're able to call on the NATO allies of Great Britain or the UK, if you're one of those people. I know that's the official name, but I don't care. Great Britain sounds better and it's quicker to say. So Great Britain joins the war as well as the Netherlands. This, these two also call help from Denmark, which is successful, and Germany is once again having a split because political dividement, I say in every video. Surprisingly, they get Switzerland to join in on the war too. With this, San Marino decides, I want land, and screw it. Here, take like 100 troops. I don't know how many they actually have. So, they originally thought that they were gonna get a lot of help over here, but basically just a defensive front line. They started a front line in Brazil, which Cuba starts a friendly invasion into, and now there's a front line right here. It's not really going anywhere. And Cuba is mainly playing the defensive. So then they decide what to do next. They wanted to do a bit of a D-Day thing and try to land in Normandy, taking out the rest of everything. But you can't really do that now, because England. So they decide to hatch another plan, and this plan is to actually land in Brittany. Um, the Cuban forces are already in here. Decide that it's a great idea to connect, so they do, but it's very bloody. And then the Cuban forces finally arrive in Brittany and cause an encircle movement. And the Armenians here are and the Armenians what? And the armies in here are either surrendering or taken out. They then connect once over here once again, and the front line is established. They make a landing in Corsica, completely wiping out the island, and Corsica is guaranteed independence by Cuba. Cuba then makes a friendly invasion through Italy, and they're in sight of San Marino. And San Marino is completely encircled. San Marino falls. And with this friendly invasion of Italy, they also push up into Switzerland, and it's very hard to encircle because it's very mountainous, but it's the best option. And after even more bloody fights, they are able to wipe out the country. If you're wondering how they've been doing this, like I said, they've been mildly buffed, and also they are working like heck, basically slaves over in all their occupied territories. And I'll see you in part 3.